Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I wanted to kick off the year with a bit of a reflection and my top 10 tips that I wish I'd known when I was starting out. Alrighty, number 1. It's more important to learn how to learn songs than it is to learn songs. When I was starting to learn drums, my second drum teacher really instilled this in me. He made it pretty obvious to me that it was important to learn the foundations of how to get a piece of music and figure out how to piece this together and learn all the bits and do it that way. Whilst I was watching people who were learning guitar learn individual songs and yet have no real cohesion when it came to like an open jam or getting told just fit in with the group, they were struggling a little. So I find it super duper important to learn how to learn songs rather than just learning individual tracks as you go. Number 2. Rudiments can and will eventually become fun. It's one of those grown-up things like wanting to go and do shopping runs at IKEA. Initially, if you're a kid, it's not fun because it's rudimentary by definition, but all your like drumming icons and all the people you aspire to be like, everything comes back to rudiments. What gets you fast around the kit, what gets you to do like super cool chops with odd phrasing and stuff like that, all comes from rudiments. So whenever you get a chance, get a pad, get some sticks, and just go through a book. There's so many opportunities to find stuff online as well now, so just go for it and just noodle, and you never know what might happen. Having the funkiest gear doesn't make you the funkiest drummer. Just having the best stuff doesn't make you the best on stage. I'll take you back to my first proper pub gig. It was in the Gershwin Room at the SB in St Kilda in Melbourne, and anyone who knows that scene would know that's a pretty rad first gig play. I played with a snare I didn't know how to tune, none of my own cymbals because I didn't have any that were worth bringing, a pretty good stool, and I had just learnt traditional grip, so I thought that was the way to play everything. I had no idea about the kit, I just rocked up, so it's not about having the best gear, it's about what you do with what you've got. You know, I did a lot with some Planet Z cymbals and a DXP drum kit before I started, breaking the bank. Number 4, learning to sight read. So learning to sight read is similar to the rudiments and that sort of thing. It's something that a lot of drummers not only don't find interesting, they often find somewhat irrelevant. If you can feel the tunes, well, that's all that matters.
Can't really read music.
Yes, for sure. But by the same token, knowing the language of music is very advantageous. Not saying you have to know every little in-depth clef and all the business, but knowing rhythm notation, it's helpful. Number 5, the crash cymbal.
Sometime food.
You don't have to use the crash cymbal at the end of every bar. At the end of every sentence, you don't put an exclamation mark. So you don't do the same in drums. And it took me a little while to learn that. When you see a live player or you go to a school talent show and you try and compare the two, often it's the overuse of fills and the overuse of the crash and other cymbals that can sort of demonstrate where someone's at compared to someone who's just sitting in the song and just feeling it. Practice is to learn your parts. Rehearsal is to learn everyone else's. Someone very wise, they told me this, and honestly, words of wisdom to live by. There's really something about getting together in a room full of people that all have their bit on lock, and you just rock up and do your bit. You got to learn the language, you got to learn the words, and then when you go to rehearsal, you have a conversation. Number 7, speed isn't everything. Often the most impressive person you see on the socials is going to be the one playing the fastest. That doesn't mean that's the best. We've all heard the saying that fills don't pay the bills. The same goes for being the fastest one around the kit. If you can't sit in a groove because you want to play double time fills and have linear 6/8 drum breaks, well, no one's going to pick you up to play a 3-hour set on the Gold Coast playing Sweet Caroline and a bunch of other favourites. Always keep that in mind. You're going to hate your instrument, and that's okay. I remember having a chat with David Parks on my podcast a while ago, and we chatted about this exact thing. We chatted about sometimes it's almost a reflection of you as a person to be able to, noodle on some ideas and go, I can't get it right. Don't think that quantity of time is always going to yield good results. Sometimes you need to take a breather, you need to take a step back and come back to it. Unfortunately, when it comes to tuning drums, something I know all too well, there's no undo button. Sometimes you'll try something and it will be worse than when you started. The world is a massive information, so take what you can from YouTube, from all these different bits, and translate it into what works for you. And then from there, learn about your instrument, learn about your craft. And there'll still be times where you're not 100% loving it, but it'll get easier to deal with. Okay, number 9. Massive one here. Don't let the cringe or the embarrassment of watching yourself back deter you from watching yourself back. Whether that be rehearsal videos, something you've done live, all these little tidbits. Yes, it's cool to have content to put online to show off and stuff when you're at the top of your game and you're killing it. That's awesome. We love that. But also look at the other 14 minutes of that set that you didn't post and look at, what did I do wrong? I held the drumstick in the wrong spot. No wonder I dropped it because my hand was sweaty. No wonder I didn't do that fill because I didn't have enough time in the song. Look back at those things. Let's get to normalizing imperfection when it comes to what we put online. You did a practice run and you did a rehearsal with the guys, and it's not the final copy, but it's something. It's demonstrating your craft. People like that. People like to see the behind the scenes. They like to see the making of. So always look back at what you've done and learn from it. Doesn't have to be the next day, but without being really hard on yourself, look back and go, I can see that now. Whilst others can be often more objective, those that are in the know, rather than just people go, oh, that was great, and that doesn't necessarily give you what you're after, you are in control of your body. So a lot of people could say, hey man, you could play that hi-hat pattern much quicker, but I'm still left-handed. So I'm still instinctively leading with my left. People ask me every time I play, why are your cymbals so close? You've got such long arms. Do you want to miss? I don't want to miss. That's embarrassing. You do a massive fill and then you miss the crash. Just because my arms are long doesn't mean I want to have the cymbals far away. Look back, take feedback, and often you'll find little Easter eggs from gigs that you missed. And I know I've done that 100 times and seen things that I didn't see at the night, and then I see them later on, and often it's a bit of fun anyways. This one is the last one, but probably the most important. Number 10, collaborate whenever and wherever you can. Some people want to jump straight into a band and jam and do stuff like that. Some people want to play by themselves and not tell anyone and keep it a secret. Any opportunity you have to demonstrate your craft and collaborate with other people, talk to other people. Collaboration doesn't have to be playing together. Collaboration can be, like I did with the podcast, getting together with other musicians. We never played a thing. We just spoke and we exchanged ideas and values and picked up things here and picked up other things there. Always collaborate. Always be open to expand your network and expand your community. There is not one person I spoke to on the pod that didn't say how important community was, how important networking was, and how awesome it is to have people around that support one another just through the fact we all play a musical instrument. Another example of that is Monty. Monty and I have been apart for a long time, and we create music over the internet, and it works really well. So there's always opportunities, there's always avenues, and with technology the way it is, it's easier than ever. So put yourself out there and collaborate whenever and wherever possible. Alrighty guys, that wraps up the video today. If you've got any other tips or bits that you've learnt or anything you think that I missed, or if you just got any feedback of your own, put them down in the comments because I'd love to read them, because it's interesting for me to figure out what people already knew and what some people never would have thought of. I think it's super important. That's another form of that collaboration, getting together and exchanging ideas, because where everyone thinks the same, no one thinks much at all. So you know what to do, the bell, the button, and until next time guys, I'll see you later.